Welcome to Our Girl Relationships. We talk about the problems people face in their day to day lives. Let's start with the video. My husband makes fun of me over my past relationship in front of in laws. One comment later, he ran to the bathroom crying, and suddenly I'm the villain. My husband and I met when we were 25 at a family event held by my sister. My husband was introduced to me as my brother in law's friend, and according to my husband, he was instantly attracted to me because of how quiet, shy, and delicate I looked. Well, I didn't think of my husband in the same light initially. LOL. He was the loud, funny guy who would go up and talk to anyone and everyone. Being introverted, this was definitely not my type. And so when he approached me at the event, I just kind of blew him off. Well, I thought that was it. I would never see him again. But as it turns out, this guy was one of my brother in law's closest friends from his childhood who had just returned back to our city from Europe. So I now had to see him practically everywhere and was left with no choice but to talk to him. We started talking, and our initial conversation went actually great. When it came to one on one conversations, he was pretty similar to how I was, and so it became easy to talk to him. Eventually, after being friends for a couple of months, I realized I had developed feelings for this guy who I previously claimed was nothing like me. He would continually ask me out on dates throughout the span of our relationship, and I decided to take him up on one of his offers. Our first date went amazing, and one thing led to another, and we started dating. Our families were very happy for us, especially my sister and brother in law, who had nothing but good words for him. So I thought I was doing the right thing by dating this guy. I wouldn't say our relationship was perfect. We had quite a few problems because, like I had said, my husband was this extremely extroverted guy who lived off of his sense of humor. And sadly, that is how most of our arguments started over the insensitive jokes he would sometimes make to get the crowd laughing. But every time I pointed out where he had gone wrong, he apologized to me, and I convinced myself that all he needed were some conversations about respecting boundaries. So we continued to date, and after about a year and a half, get married. I feel good about this wedding as his jokes had toned down a lot. I thought that maybe, finally, he understood my feelings, and the ability to understand where and when it was an appropriate time to joke had hit him after this marriage. To say that I was wrong to think this would be an understatement because apparently he had only toned down with his jokes due to the fact that he had found more content in joking about the misery of other people than mine. I hadn't opened up to him about things in a while, and so he had nothing to joke about. Well, after 2 months into our marriage, one day while using his phone, I found out that he has Tinder installed on this phone. I knew I wasn't going to just sit there hesitant to see what my husband was doing on this app, and so decided to open it and was horrified to see him message one woman after the other, complimenting them in the most sexual manner. Basically, just drooling over them while they all just left him on scene. I also decided to go through his Instagram, and it was the same case there. I was heartbroken by this discovery and decided to confront him right there and then. Well, the moment I did, he instantly turned red in the face. He started apologizing, going off on how he's never met any of these women, yada, yada, how he was only there because his friends forced him to. I told him that I didn't care. The fact that he was there is all I needed to know to find out that he doesn't care about this relationship. He begged and cried and did every trick in his book to convince me to stay with him, and I decided to, only on the condition that he had to allow me to have access to his phone and for us to get marriage counseling. So even though the situation was full of red flags, marriage counseling helped us a lot, and I decided to bury this situation and not tell anyone about it. Well, these red flags only got redder when we went to have dinner with his side of the family. There, my sister, brother in law, and a couple of his other friends were invited as well. We had a good time overall. We played a few card games, had a few drinks, and were having a nice conversation over dinner to end the night. Well, I'm not sure what happened to my husband, but he thought this was the perfect time to crack a joke. And guess what? This joke was about nothing but my past relationship that I talked about in one of our marriage counseling sessions. You see, this relationship was extremely toxic. I was verbally abused, gaslit, and cheated on, and it was one of the reasons why I was having such a hard time trusting my husband. I guess the fact that I didn't trust him again soon enough is what got him mad and became the reason behind his jokes. So he started joking about how I got cheated on twice and still decided to stay with my ex. How I was so small and delicate that I let a man yell at me. The straw that broke the camel's back was when he talked about how funny it was that I could yell at him, but not the real abuser. I was dumbfounded, and the fact that all of his family found it funny left me speechless. My brother-in-law was too, laughing throughout the entire ordeal. I just sat there, looking at my sister, who was as shocked as I was. This is where I thought to myself I wasn't going to be allowed to be humiliated, and so, to put salt on his wound, I made a joke that went along the lines of, "That's definitely funny, but at least I don't thirst over random women on Instagram and Tinder while being married." The room fell dead silent, and honestly, I was intimidated by this. My husband just got up and excused himself to the bathroom. My brother-in-law and mother-in-law followed him whilst his rest of the family glared at me, and that is when the comments about how I'm a horrible wife for not being able to take a joke, how I'm just sensitive, and how I lack the ability to communicate privately about marital issues started coming. I wasn't having any of it, and I told them all that if they would have taught my husband to not be a cheater and a foul-mouthed person, maybe I wouldn't have had to make this comment. I left the house after saying that while my husband's friends just talked about how women aren't worth shit, mind you guys, these men haven't had a relationship in the 24 years of their lives. LMAO. Well, my husband eventually returned home and is unwilling to speak to me currently. All of my family, from my side to his, are mad at me because of how terribly I broke the news of him cheating. I don't think what I did was wrong, honestly. He should have seen it coming when he made a joke about something that was so sensitive to me. But still, I would appreciate some unbiased opinion on this situation. AITA? It's been 3 days since everything went down. I've tried multiple times to speak to my husband, and he's still unwilling to speak to me. He would only speak through my mother-in-law, brother-in-law, and his friends, who aren't helping at all, and simply just continued to give me crap for being a horrible wife. This is starting to get frustrating. I'm losing my patience because I know for a fact that if my joke was inappropriate, so was my husband's. So if they want to drag only the one of us through the mud, I wasn't going to just stay there and hear them give me all this shit. I know ultimatums are toxic, but after about 2 days of dealing with the people who have nothing to do with my marriage, I just told my husband that either he had to talk to me or I was going to live with my parents. I guess the fact that he can't cook his own damn meals is what feared him more than losing me as a partner, and he decided to sit down to talk to me, and that is when all hell broke loose. He went off about how I emasculated him in front of his friends, how the only reason he was married to me was because I knew when to shut my mouth, and other BS that did nothing but simply just show his true colors. I knew I had enough at that point. All of the comments you all left me really started to hit me at that point, and I realized this man truly isn't worth it. He has absolutely nothing that I can love, and even if he did, I knew it wasn't worth over how he's been treating me. So I just packed my bags as he was going off and just left to stay with a friend. I guess this wasn't expected coming from me now. He is the one starting to blow up my phone, paragraph on how he can work this out, how he's sorry, blah, blah. I know for a fact that I'm not going to fall for this again. Firstly, I would like to apologize for keeping you all waiting, as it's been a month since I last posted. I knew I couldn't deal with my husband anymore, so the first thing I did after moving in with my friend temporarily is get a divorce lawyer. My parents helped me tremendously with this process. It was just a matter of fact that I had to sit down with them and explain the situation to them. They were horrified to learn the real series of events that went down, and not twisted version from my brother-in-law and my husband's side of the family told them. The moment I handed my husband the divorce papers, he knew he was screwed. his demeanor towards me completely changed. Not only that, the demeanor of his friends and my brother in law changed towards me. Suddenly, I became an amazing wife, partner to my husband. The change in their tones is almost hilarious to me because I genuinely do not know what went inside their heads. Is it like they thought that I would completely forget how bad they treated me? I guess we'll never know what goes inside the heads of these people, but currently I'm working on trying to find an apartment for myself. This newly found freedom feels like it's really great to not live under the shadows of my husband like I previously was. And what even feels nicer is how my sister has come into the realization that her marriage worked in a similar manner as well. So she's looking into getting separated from her partner too. Although this might make me what you call a homewrecker, I firmly believe that no woman deserves to be with men like these, and this community is the reason why I have come to this realization myself. So, thank you all for that. NTA, you go, girl. I love the way you called him out. In fact, your joke is the one that actually had me laughing instead of the stupid jokes made by your husband. I wouldn't bother to talk to a man like him, so it's good that he has his mouth shut. LOL. NTA, but this man is a walking red flag. I'm not saying this by this specific event either. By the way you describe him, I just get a horrible vibe from him. It just sounds like you were kind of manipulated in this relationship in general. But by the description, you sound young. So please reconsider your marriage and think about the future before trying again with this man. I'm a 15-year-old female, and my dad, 54, is married to Jacob, 50, male. And to be honest, I don't like Jacob as he just annoys me. I don't know if they intentionally do what they do or if they don't even realize they're doing it, but either way, it pisses me off, which is why I dislike Jacob very much. I can never get alone time with just my mom and my dad without Jacob being there. And I've specifically said all the time that I just want my dad and mom there, but it doesn't even matter to them because Jacob turns up either way. And yes, I've communicated with them about this, but it's like they don't even listen. Anyways, yesterday was supposed to be only me, my mom, and my dad going to an amusement park, but also my half sister, 3, female, my mom's daughter. I told my mom and Jacob that I didn't want Jacob there, but guess what? He turned up anyways. Also, this event was for me, and it wasn't an event that was for the whole family. It was for me. And I wanted my sister, my mom, and my dad to be there only. I was pissed when Jacob turned up, so instead of letting it go like I normally do, I lashed out at my dad and Jacob for Jacob being there. I told my dad that Jacob didn't always need to come along and that he needed to stop bringing Jacob to my events that I specifically said I didn't want him to attend. My dad was poised and Jacob started crying, which only made me more mad. Jacob is a grown man, and I talked to him about this as well. So it's not like he was just clueless to the whole thing. So I didn't understand why he was crying, and maybe I was a bit harsh when I lashed out, but that was because I've been gentle with them many, many times, and I was just done with being gentle with them, so I lashed out. Now, to mention, my mom is the one paying for all this, so she was also pissed that Jacob turned up when he wasn't supposed to be there. I never see my dad without Jacob being there, and it just gets so tiring when you can't even talk to your dad alone with his husband, wife being there. My mom and family are completely on my side, but my dad and Jacob are pissed at me. So, AITA? NTA, if your dad and mom are cool being together on a trip, then they should honor that you just want time with them. Jacob should understand that. You've been very mature by trying to calmly explain it to them, and they've ignored that. Not to mention that him imposing on a trip your mom was paying for is very inappropriate. Dad is so worried about making his partner feel included that he is ignoring his kid's need for attention. NTA, my parents are divorced and both have new partners. They have both had time with me and my siblings without their partners there, especially if it's something specific like a graduation, spaces are limited, or one-on-one individual time where my mom or dad has come to visit without their partner. Yes, they're remarried, but that doesn't mean they have to be joined at the hip 24/7. She's not asking for the moon. She wants time with just her bio parents. That's fair. Jacob is overstepping boundaries massively, and her dad should be standing up for her more. I've had individual time with my stepmom, my bio dad, and my bio mom. I don't get why that's such a big deal. Yes, he's family, but he's not acting like it if he's just not respecting her boundaries. I'm a 31-year-old male volunteer for Planned Parenthood, and we're outside the front of the building for the times when abortion appointments are scheduled to be a distraction from protesters as people come from the parking lot. I've been doing it for about a year. Patients during those times come in for other services too, and we aren't told why someone is coming in, so I'm just a friendly doer and greeter to everyone. There are 2 slots for each shift. For months, I've been the only one during the shifts I sign up for, but for most recent 3 shifts, there's been a new, to me, guy, early 30s, doing it with me. Luckily, we both like to do the same thing when we aren't greeting people, which is to put headphones in to pass the time and not really talk to each other. I'm an introvert, so this is a win. We're given a short lesson about how to act, and it's mostly don't be too aggressively nice off the bat. This isn't a fun day, and patients might not want a stranger walking up to them, trying to make excessive conversations, etc. So just read the room. You guy is always aggressively nice off the bat, fine in regular social situations, but in this setting, it's a bit much. I can tell some of the people, especially women coming in, aren't into it. I honestly got kind of a creepy vibe from it at first, but I thought maybe from being on Reddit and the internet, my weirdo neckbeard incel radar was just too sensitive. When he's there, I'm just a silent, smiling door opener. Last shift, someone I knew came to the clinic. She's 28, is a platonic friend I made at the gym and I used to go to. I haven't seen her for 2 years, and for context, she's objectively a very attractive woman. New guy goes up and starts talking to her, and I go to open the door. She seems in good spirits, not like she's there for anything heavy, but I wasn't going to strike up conversation just in case. Walking past me, she does a triple take, excitedly says hi, and gives me a hug. We talk for a few seconds, but she says she's late for a BC checkup. She came out 20 minutes later, and we talked for a couple of minutes, and she says she'll message me so we can get a beer and catch up. After she gets in her car, new guy says verbatim, "Damn, dude, she's hot. Were you two together?" I was taken aback, and I said the first thing that came to mind, which was, "It's kind of weird you'd say that to me, to be honest." He smiled and nodded and didn't say anything else, and neither did I. The shift only had 5 minutes left, so we didn't have to spend too much awkward silence together. Like I said, we haven't become bros. We barely talk to each other. I could, maybe, see this being more okay at a bar with a friend. In this setting, with a stranger, I thought it was really off-putting. I got a message from the volunteer coordinator. I had made this guy uncomfortable. I'm not fired or anything. It was just a notification and a suggestion to be friendlier. AITA for delivering that spicy take immediately after what he said, did. NTA, and it sounds like he reported you, so you wouldn't be believed if you reported him. He was way over the line with his comment, and frankly, someone needs to let the volunteer coordinator know about his inappropriate behavior. NTA, I think that this volunteer could use a lesson in professionalism. I would respond in an email that you are sorry for making him uncomfortable, but he asked you a personal question about a patient you happen to know outside of your volunteer role, and it threw you off. Additionally, you would love to have training to recalibrate on standards of interaction with patients and guests. This should get her attention to the issues going on here.